Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. We'll get started in just a minute as people trickle in. All right, well, I think I'll kick us off. Hi, everyone. My name is Luis Montez. I'm an outreach specialist with Ascent, supporting the City of Bakersfield on the planning and development of SOAR Bakersfield. Now, before I get started, I want to introduce Frida Bloom, who will be our Spanish interpreter for this workshop, to give her a chance to introduce herself and provide some instructions in case anyone needs Spanish interpretation services today. So with that, I'll hand it off to Frida for a second.
Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to this forum. Muy buenas tardes y bienvenido a este foro. In order to provide language access, this meeting will have simultaneous bidirectional interpretation into English and Spanish. If you're bilingual, you don't have to click anything. But if you're not bilingual and you're using your laptop, in a few seconds, you'll see an icon shaped like a globe at the bottom of your screen. Click on Language Interpretation and then select English. If you're using your phone or an iPad, then in a few seconds, locate the three-dot menu in one of the corners of your screen, click on Language Interpretation and then select English. When you speak, do so at a moderate pace because the interpreter will be simultaneously interpreting everything you say. And remember, in order to have a successful bidirectional dialogue, everyone needs to enable the interpretation, including our English speakers. A efecto de proporcionar acceso lingüístico, contaremos con interpretación simultánea bidireccional al inglés y al español. Si usted es bilingüe, no tiene que presionar nada, pero si usted no es bilingüe y está en su computadora, en unos segundos verá un icono en forma de globo en la parte inferior de su pantalla, haga clic en Interpretación y después seleccione Español o Spanish. Si está en su iPad o su teléfono, en unos segundos busque el menú de 3 puntos o que dice More en una de las esquinas de su pantalla, haga clic en Interpretación y después seleccione Español o Spanish y después Aceptar, Finalizar o Done. Cuando hable, hágalo en español y la intérprete estará simultáneamente interpretando todo lo que usted diga. Y solo para efectos de conocer la demografía de nuestro auditorio, si usted va a utilizar la interpretación en español, en este momento, por favor, levante la mano. Gracias. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Frida. Now, before I jump into the workshop and the presentation, I do want to introduce Christina Goli, who's with the city and has played a key role in supporting and helping plan SOAR Bakersfield so far. With that, I want to introduce Christina for a moment.
Thank you, Louise. Hello, everyone. We are excited to welcome everyone to our second community workshop for SOAR Bakersfield. Today's session will concentrate on strategies for fostering a more sustainable future and building resilience for the Bakersfield community. We will analyze the information shared and identify the most critical areas for our community. Therefore, your feedback is essential. This will guide us in determining the types of grants we should pursue. So when grant funding becomes available, we will be equipped to address the community's concerns based on your input. But we first must start with a plan. Again, your contributions are incredibly important. During this meeting, we encourage you to ask questions and share your thoughts on how we can work together to create a healthier, sustainable, and more resilient future for our Bakersfield community. Thank you, and again, we welcome you to our community workshop.
Awesome. Thank you, Christina. And as Christina mentioned, while we're here to talk about SOAR Bakersfield, short for Sustainable Opportunities Advancing Resilience, what we're really here for is to hear from all of you directly. So I will get us started, but before I do that, I want to make sure we're all orientated with the Zoom functions. So I'll go over them just to make sure we're all on the same page. So in the lower left corner is the mute and unmute function, which mutes and unmutes your microphone. Please stay on mute unless you're invited to speak to maintain clear audio for all participants. Right next to the mute button is where you can start video and stop video. This turns your camera on and off, giving you flexibility to control your video presence as needed. Then we also have the chat function, which opens and closes the chat box, where you can leave questions and comments. We do have staff monitoring the chat. Additionally, we might share links and instructions there as well. There are also some interactive tools. We encourage you to use the reactions, which is a menu of non-verbal responses. Here, you can also use the raise hand function to notify us if you'd like to speak. And if you'd like to exit the workshop, you can do so by clicking Leave Meeting, which lets you exit while the meeting continues for others. Now, here's today's agenda. We'll do some introductions. I'll provide an overview of SOAR Bakersfield. Then we'll talk about what creating a sustainable and resilient city means, specifically looking at Bakersfield. And we'll have time for Q&A after that presentation. Then for the remainder of the meeting, and the majority of the meeting will be dedicated towards for a group activity where we will hear from all of you. And then finally, the last 5 to 10 minutes, we'll close the meeting with next steps and closing comments. So some introductions. I do want to introduce the project team helping make SOAR Bakersfield possible. On the City of Bakersfield side, we have Christian Clegg, the city manager, Rick Anthony, the assistant city manager, Phil Burns, the development services director, Cassandra Cotera, the fiscal and administrative services officer, and of course, Christina Goli, administrative analyst. And then on the Ascent side, joining you all today, we have Hannah Kornfeld, Andrew Beecher, myself, Adam Chien, Natalie Kataoka, and Patrick Wickstrom. And then, of course, we also have Frida Bloom providing Spanish interpretation today. Now, before we jump into the SOAR Bakersfield overview, I just wanted to give a quick overview of the project schedule. So we kicked off the SOAR Bakersfield project in January with an outreach plan that outlines opportunities for community engagement. We also launched the project website with virtual tools like a survey and interactive map to gather community priorities. Both tools are still open and available for input, and we'll make sure to share those after this workshop. In March, we hosted a virtual workshop. Last week, we hosted an in-person workshop, and today is the third and final workshop. These engagement opportunities are key moments for you all to share feedback on what matters most, and your feedback will help shape the draft plan, which will be shared publicly for review before being finalized. Now, jumping straight into an overview of what this SOL is. Again, I'll remind everyone what SOAR Bakersfield stands for. It stands for Sustainable Opportunities Advancing Resilience. So what does that mean? It's essentially a roadmap to reduce climate pollution. And by roadmap, we mean strategies and supporting actions or opportunities that help guide the city on how to reduce these climate pollutants. It's made possible by the EPA's Climate Pollution Reduction Grant. And at a high level, it identifies actions for economic growth, cost savings, and other efforts to improve quality of life for Bakersfield residents. It does prioritize local needs and integrates community priorities, which is why workshops like this are important for finding out what those community priorities are. And it engages all populations, especially underserved communities, and ensures equitable benefits for everyone. So really making sure that we're looking at it through this equity lens. Now, today we're here to talk about how we can shape a more sustainable and resilient Bakersfield. And most importantly, to hear directly from all of you on how you want to make this happen. So, what makes up our city? Where we live, the condition of our natural and built environment, the social, government, and institutional resources we have access to all have considerable impacts on health and well being. When we think about what makes Bakersfield, we can categorize them into three parts. We have people, we have places, and we have systems. People are social component that includes community identity, livability, civic engagement, arts and culture, and health and well-being. We have place. Our environment includes housing, the economy, the built environment, parks and open spaces, and accessibility and connectivity. And then we have systems. That's our infrastructure. It includes energy, waste, water, transportation, and communication. We'll use these three categories to consider what Bakersfield looks like today and how we envision it to look in the future. So, starting with people. Today, Bakersfield's population is younger on average than California's, but the median age is increasing. So, about 63% of Bakersfield residents were younger than 40 years old. From 2000 to 2020, Bakersfield's population grew by 49%. Moving forward, 43% of adults speak a language at home other than English, and 50% of the population identifies as Hispanic or Latino. About 81% of the population has a high school degree, and 23% have a bachelor's degree. Now, looking at income, the median household income is about $62,000, with about 15% of individuals living below the poverty line. So painting a high-level picture of people in Bakersfield. Now, moving on to places. When thinking about our built environment, it's important to understand the types of distribution of land uses in Bakersfield. Agricultural lands account for 44%, followed by residential areas at 31%. The remaining land uses are comprised of parks and open spaces, commercial buildings, public facilities, and industrial uses. Now, getting a little bit more specific, I'll transition us to looking at open spaces. And access to open spaces improves individual, mental, and physical health through increased access to physical activities and natural areas. Bakersfield currently has over 600 acres of parks across 61 parks and parkways with a variety of amenities. And some of those include skate parks, picnic shelters, dog parks, sports fields, basketball courts, just to name a few. Now, looking at housing, providing housing to meet the needs of households of all income levels is important to the social and economic health of a city. A diversity of housing types at all levels of affordability creates opportunities for everyone to feel safe, healthy, and affordable, and have an affordable home. A mixture of housing types provides a range of choices in size and amenities, as well as affordability. More specifically, the majority of housing in Bakersfield is single-family housing units, making up about 75%, with multi-housing accounting for about 22%. Home ownership and rental units are important for housing availability and opportunities to build equity. Nearly all Bakersfield's homeowners live in single-family housing. That's about 96%. In comparison to about 45% of renters, in comparison to about 45% of renter households living in single-family homes. Now, looking at employment, residents of Bakersfield are most commonly employed in educational services, healthcare and social assistance, retail trade, agriculture, and mining. Industries with large growth between include educational services, healthcare, and social assistance. That's one. Transportation and warehousing and utilities. That's two. Agriculture, forestry, fishing, and hunting and mining. That's three. And the fourth is construction. So I know there's a lot on the screen, so I'll pause for a moment just while people review. And also ensuring that it's accessible in Spanish as well. I wanted to make sure we covered pollution burden. Bakersfield experiences some of the worst air quality in the US. This includes ozone and particle pollution that comes from cars, trucks, factories, and wood burning. A majority of census tracts in Bakersfield scored above the 90th percentile for both ozone and particulate matter, meaning that the average census tract in Bakersfield had higher levels than at least 90% of all California census tracts. In addition to air pollutants, farm worker families and other people who live near fields can be exposed to pesticides both outdoors and inside their homes. While drinking water in Bakersfield meets health standards, it can sometimes become contaminated with chemicals or bacteria, and this could be due to historic agriculture practices, overpumping, and even naturally occurring minerals. Additionally, numerous disadvantaged census tracts in the city have elevated levels of drinking water contaminants and pesticide pollution, as well as high levels of impacts from hazardous waste sites, cleanup sites, solid waste sites, and groundwater threats. Now, looking at systems at a high level, and just a reminder, these are energy, water, waste, transportation, and communication systems. So jumping right into transportation, understanding how residents move within Bakersfield and the surrounding region can play a critical role in the planning of land use and community development. Commuting is a primary purpose of vehicle travel, and commute trends and patterns are an essential component to understanding how the transportation network in Bakersfield is being used. Roughly 48% of all Bakersfield residents work in Bakersfield. The percentage of Bakersfield residents by work location is shown in the graph. And a majority, about 68% of workers employed in Bakersfield commute less than 10 miles to work, while 21% of workers in the city commute greater than 50 miles to work. Now looking at commute by travel type, within the city, a pretty small percentage of people commute via active transportation. And this includes biking and walking. There are roughly 176 miles of bike paths within the city. Additionally, a relatively small percentage of commuters in Bakersfield use public transit to get to work. And there are two primary public transit agencies that provide bus services in Bakersfield. We have the Golden Empire Transit District and Kern Regional Transit. The city is also served by Amtrak passenger rail and will host a major station in the planned California high-speed rail system. So now looking at water, waste, and energy. Starting with water, the majority of Bakersfield's water is supplied by the Kern River and deliveries from the State Water Project. Surface water allocations depend on the available Sierra Nevada snowpack. The remaining water demands are provided by pumped groundwater. The city provides wastewater services as well to most areas within the city limits, and this is through Public Works, which operates 2 wastewater treatment plants. Went forward too fast. The city provides solid waste services as well, with solid waste being transported to the Baina landfill. The Mount Vernon Green Waste Recycling Facility recycles organic materials, and they do this through composting. And then the average Bakersfield resident generates 5.3 pounds of waste per day, and that goes to the Baina landfill. Now looking at energy providers in Bakersfield include PG&E for electricity, SoCalGas for natural gas, and various broadband internet and cellular providers. So now tying this all together, I know it's quick and high level, but the point we're trying to make is the future of Bakersfield can be influenced by decisions concerning our natural and built environment and the social government and institutional resources that support us. Decisions around these resources can promote a positive physical, social, economic environment that support the overall well-being of residents. Now, we want to understand from you all what types of decisions and opportunities are your priorities to create a sustainable and resilient Bakersfield. So before we move into the group activity where we'll dive into this and explore all of this in more detail, we do want to pause and leave space for questions in case there are any questions about SOAR Bakersfield itself or anything that was presented here today. So with that, I do want to leave space for questions in case anyone has one. So please feel free to raise your hand and we'll definitely make sure to get to you. I see a hand up from Nicola.
Hi, yeah, thanks so much. I have a few questions about kind of the plan itself. So I was curious, first of all, is this just the city of Bakersfield or any of kind of the surrounding areas or all of Kern County? I asked because I know with the CPRG program, it was designated for the whole Bakersfield metropolitan area. So I'm wondering kind of what the bounds of the plan there are, and I'll pause there.
Yeah, that's a great question. Hannah or Andrew, wondering if you guys could respond.
Yeah, happy to. And Christina, I welcome any other thoughts from you. Essentially, Nicola, the other jurisdictions in Kern County were not as interested in completing a comprehensive climate action plan under the CPRG program. The city of Bakersfield is considered the lead for this project, the lead agency. We are working through an advisory group with other agencies and like the Air District, Kern and others to kind of have a more regional impact to this plan. Our project is also providing greenhouse gas emissions inventories and projections for all cities within the county, as well as the unincorporated area, should they be interested in the future in doing more of this type of work. But this plan itself is really going to focus on the city limits.
Nicole, I see your hand up. Go for it.
Yeah, thanks so much. Really appreciate that answer. My next question is, I know that there's no implementation funding tied into this phase of the CPRG program. So I was wondering kind of what the next steps are with this plan. Because I know in like some other areas, we have like other regions throughout California that are doing this. We've expressed some concerns that these plans are going to be made and all of this amazing effort is going to go into this plan, and then they're just going to kind of sit there because there isn't any money for implementation. So I'm curious what the plan is after the SOAR Bakersfield plan is finished.
I can start, and Christina, feel free to chime in from your perspective. I will share that the city did submit a implementation grant under the CPRG program after the PCAP was developed. Unfortunately, the city was not successful with that grant, as were the vast majority of applicants. They ended up only awarding a handful of grants from that very large pool of funds that they had. But because we went through that process of identifying projects that would really benefit the city and estimating what we thought the cost would be, those projects are kind of sitting there shovel ready for future grant applications. And so I think that the intent of this is to keep those projects at the forefront and think about what grant programs might be able to match the needs of Bakersfield. And I know the city is really committed to kind of keeping the momentum going on this project once the plan is actually in place. And maybe that's where I'll pass it over to Christina.
And the only thing that I would add is, I know a lot of us are focused on the EPA grants, but there are other funding sources out there that may become available. So we kind of want to keep going in the direction that we're going now and apply for those grants and see what happens in the future.
Nicola, if you have more questions, I think feel free. You don't have to raise your hand again. I wasn't sure if we answered everything you had.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I do have one more question. I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit more about what efforts had been made to engage specifically disadvantaged communities throughout Bakersfield. You might have answered this in like a previous meeting or plan to answer it later, but I was hoping to get some clarity around that. Thanks.
Luis, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I can jump in. Yeah, definitely viewing this from an equity lens is a priority. I think part of planning efforts are focus groups, and those are specifically intended to engage community-based organizations and community leaders who all provide a variety of different services, whether it be youth, supporting youth, supporting affordable housing, or a variety of different other groups that provide essential resources. We're really making sure that we engage them. So we have a series of focus groups. We actually just hosted our first one last week, where we're asking very specific questions asking what, from their perspective, what they want to see included, and what makes a resilient community. So topics are adaptation and resilience, looking at climate hazards and how they impact different communities and ensuring those perspectives are being included. We'll have additional conversations about workforce and another conversation on priority measures that they'd like to see specifically. So we're really trying to make sure that, you know, we're bridging gaps and getting information across, you know, communities who are disproportionately impacted, and ensuring that those voices are uplifted. So the focus groups, I think, do a really good job of engaging those groups. You know, outside of the focus groups, continuing those conversations beyond, you know, this planning process and building those relationships so that they're engaged into the implementation phase of this process. So hopefully that helps answer your question.
It does. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Any other questions? Awesome. Well, I'm not seeing any hands, but if questions come up, I'll definitely make sure to share how you can reach out to us. We'll also be following up with the presentation slides and some other avenues to reach out to us in case questions come up after the workshop. So appreciate the questions that did come up, and I think it's time to transition us to it's open house activity, but we'll be doing this on Mural. It'll be our group activity. I'll provide a quick overview, and then I'll do a quick demonstration, and then we'll divide into breakout groups. So there will be about, I'm thinking, 2 breakout groups, and in each breakout group, there are 4 stations or topics. We have building and energy, we have transportation and clean fuels, resource management and conservation, and economic and workforce and economic development. And in each breakout room, there is a facilitator who will help guide the conversation and answer any questions that you may have. And we also have a note taker that their role is to capture everything, just to make sure that it gets included as we analyze input received today. So to provide a little bit more direction on what the prompt is, we will be presenting a series of opportunities or actions that we think might be helpful, but really the intention is to hear from all of you whether or not they are. And there are a few ways to tell us if they're helpful or not. We have a green dot, and that will indicate that this is a high priority. We have a yellow sticky, and this is where you can put information, you can type directly into it, and that will indicate that this is a priority, but, and then you'll share why. So maybe you like the idea, but you have some concerns. And then we have a pink sticky, and this is telling us that this is a priority. I'm sorry, this is not a priority, and then you're going to tell us why. So tell us why maybe you don't agree with it, or maybe why it won't work from your perspective. And I'm going to provide a quick visual to kind of go over this one more time. I'm going to provide an example. This is one of the images that you will all be reacting to. It's part of the conservation, the natural resource and conservation section. And there are 8 of these that your facilitator will guide you through, and they all look a little similar. There's a title that has a focus area. There's an overview that provides kind of a description of the topic to help you kind of think through it. But then where we want all of you to focus your attention is in these boxes that outline different opportunities or actions. And really the question is, what would help you most? And again, just a reminder, a green dot indicates that this is a high level or this is a high priority. Yellow sticky with your comments indicates that this is a priority, but again, I have some concerns, or I recommend that we make this change, or that you consider this. And then a pink sticky is, this is not a priority because. Now, with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and jump directly into the mural board activity to again, paint the picture of what you all will be looking at in a short moment.
Luis, we have unfortunately lost a few folks, and we have a fairly large project team on board. So I think we're going to just keep everyone in the main room here, and we'll have a conversation with the folks who are sticking around and giving us your time this evening. We really appreciate it.
Perfect. That
So
sounds good to
I
me.
just dropped a link in the chat for those who are comfortable following along on Mural, and Luis will continue sharing his screen, and we've got some note takers at the ready.
Perfect. That sounds good to me. So we have about 45 minutes for this activity, and as you all get logged in, feel free to log in as a visitor, and it'll give you access to the mural board. I'll help orientate you all. So again, on directions are on the far left, but we'll go station by station, and the dots you can see and the sticky notes are all below. This is kind of replicating an in-person poster board format. However, we're doing it virtually, just so we can all do it from the comfort of wherever we are at. Everything is locked except for the dots and the sticky notes. So if you have, as you review each board, I encourage you to, share it out loud. Maybe we can talk about it. Maybe you have questions about what we've listed here. We're happy to talk or guide you through, any thoughts that you have. But you're welcome to, let's say you agree with something, you could drag the dot and put it there, and that'll indicate that you feel that that's a high priority. But maybe you feel something needs to be explained a little bit more. Feel free to drag the yellow post-it, and then within these post-its you can actually type. So you can type your message, and that'll ensure that we capture it. And then, of course, if you're not comfortable, using Mural, that's totally okay. We have a team here to capture your thoughts. So maybe you just want to share your thoughts on a specific action that you see. Let us know how you feel, and we will absolutely make sure it gets captured. So we're here to kind of accommodate however you want to engage in this project. I'll kick us off by starting with the first board, and we'll just transition through each station until we get to the end. Obviously keeping an eye on time, because I'm sure we can probably spend time on just one station, but we gotta get through 4 stations total. So in about 10 minutes, I'll open up station 2, which has its own set of actions and opportunities that we want you all to react to. But I think with that, I'll open it up in case there are any questions.
We're also a small group. Feel free to just come right off mute, and feel free to turn your camera on if you're comfortable. So we're replicating our in-person kind of atmosphere. Yeah.
Thanks, Saul. Real quick question. I know we have some teammates and some other community members that would love to participate. Will this link be available after the meeting?
Yeah, we'll make sure to share it. I think stuff comes up after the meeting that might be helpful. So what we'll do is lock all the comments and input that we get today, and leave it open in case there are in case there's additional feedback.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. So I think with that, looking at this is station 1, building and energy. We'll look at making our homes and businesses work better, keeping costs down while staying comfortable. We have many homes and businesses in Bakersfield are older and could work more efficiently. When buildings use less energy, families and business owners save money on utility bills while staying more comfortable year-round. And we have some thoughts, but feel free to share your own ideas as well. We have help with upfront costs for home improvements. This could include new windows, insulation, efficient appliances. simple guides on on what improvements make the biggest difference, programs that install efficient equipment at no cost, information about rebates and financial help available, and easy financing options for upgrades. And of course, what do you think would make it easier for you to improve your home or business? And seeing,
Do you mind zooming in just a little bit
yes,
more
yeah,
to this? That would be great. Thank you.
yes. Mm-hmm. We'll start with these four up here. And again, if you're comfortable just going with Mural and filling it out on your own, that's totally okay too. We're here to answer questions or guide any thoughts. And while folks are filling that out, I think we can kind of jump through both of these. So I'll read off the second topic. We also have reliable power when we need it most. So this includes keeping the lights on during outages and emergencies. So when the power goes out during hot summer days or emergencies, it affects our safety and comfort. Local energy sources like solar panels and batteries can keep essential services running when we need them most. So on this topic, what would help you most? Backup power at community centers, senior centers, and emergency shelters, helping pay for solar panels and batteries for homes and businesses, assistance figuring out what energy options work best for your property, information about solar and battery programs and rebates, or maybe we missed something. What are other ideas that you might have? So we'll look at both of these collectively and feel free to go off mute and share your thoughts or drag and drop one of the sticky notes down here. So I'll zoom us back into the first poster. I'm seeing for simple guides on what improvements make the biggest difference. There's a comment that says needs to include both cost, energy savings, and indoor air quality improvements. That's definitely good feedback. Seeing backup power at community centers, senior centers, and emergency shelters as a priority. And feel free to type into the chat too if you can't. If you're not able to navigate, we can always copy and paste directly from the chat into this mural board. seeing for help paying for solar panels and batteries for homes and businesses. We have want to ensure that the help goes to low-income folks and not homes and businesses that could already afford it. I appreciate that feedback. Just gonna zoom out so we can kind of see where comments are. I'll zoom back in. And feel free to share if you feel strongly about why you strongly support something. Feel free to share why. That is also helpful feedback. Okay, and just for the sake of time, I'm going to transition us to station 2. Feel free to keep engaging on station 1, but station 2 will become available in just a moment, and I'll read off what that topic is. So station 2 is focused on transportation and clean fuels. So the two topics covered under this topic is getting around our city safely and easily. So more ways to travel that save money and connect our communities. So many residents walk, bike, or use transit to get around, especially when gas prices are high. Most trips in Bakersfield are short distances that could be easier and safer with better transportation options. So what would help you most? Is it more housing near bus routes and shopping areas? More frequent bus services with shorter wait times? New transportation options like community shuttles or bike share programs? Bike lanes and safer places to bike? Better crosswalks, lighting, and sidewalks for walking safety? Or maybe we missed something. What would make it easier and safer to get around for you in Bakersfield? I'll pause here for a moment before I read the next board. Zoom this out a bit. Seeing a preference for better crosswalks, lighting, and sidewalks for walking safety. Now, while people are still thinking through getting around Bakersfield, I'm going to read off the next board, kind of the next topic under this station, and that is cleaner air and lower transportation costs, vehicles and fuels that save money and improve air quality. So with rising gas prices, many residents are interested in vehicles that cost less to operate. Electric vehicles and cleaner fuels can help families save money while improving the air we all breathe. So, what would help you most? More places to charge electric vehicles around the city, access to cleaner fuel options like renewable diesel and hydrogen, help with costs for electric vehicles and home chargers, information about electric vehicle benefits and available rebates. Or maybe there are other ideas. What would help you make the switch to cleaner transportation? For more places to charge electric vehicles around the city, seeing that lighting and clear signage be a component of that. Appreciate that feedback. And while people are filling that out, I'll jump back to the previous board just to take a quick look at what was shared. So buses that run at night with lights at bus stops. For new transportation options, like shuttles or bike share programs, affordability being some feedback there. And it looks like for protected bike lanes and safer places to bike, just generally more protected bike lanes in Bakersfield, it sounds like. Now, jumping back over to cleaner air and lower transportation costs, seeing some thoughts shared about hydrogen production and its use of water. Specifically, looking at charging stations in East Bakersfield. I appreciate the, getting specific if there are locations that need to be considered, parts of the city that, require more attention. Yeah, appreciate the feedback here. And then in a few minutes, I'll transition us to station 3 and help read that off.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to add something. We're seeing some location-specific input, and just wanted to put a plug out for the project website. We'll talk more about this at the end, but there is opportunity to get really location-specific. There's a mapping exercise there where you can put really specific input about very specific locations. So, this is one opportunity for input. However, that project website is live and will stay live. And you can, provide very specific suggestions on locations of bus stops, intersections, or, areas for public charging that should be prioritized. We'll share more information about that at the end of the meeting.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Andrew. All right, I'm going to transition us to station 3 while people are wrapping up station 1 and 2. Feel free to continue working away. I'll read through what this station is. It's resource management and conservation. So looking at first, cooler, healthier neighborhoods. So this includes trees, plants, and green spaces that make our communities more comfortable. Trees and plants help keep our neighborhoods cooler, clean the air, and create pleasant places for families to gather. Bakersfield has farmland within city limits that could also help support our community's health. So what would help you most? More trees along streets and around schools, help for residents to plant trees on their property, native plant gardens that use less water and support local wildlife, support for local farmers using practices that improve soil health, or other ideas. How can we make Bakersfield greener and more comfortable? I see making bus stations more comfortable, so including trees in those spaces. And appreciate all the comments in the chat. Thanks for feedback there. That's definitely an avenue. Now transitioning over to water and waste. So using resources efficiently to keep costs down. So water and waste costs affect every household and every business. When we use water efficiently and waste less, families save money while protecting resources for the future. So what would help you most here? Upgrades to water systems to prevent waste and improve reliability. More local water sources to reduce dependence on expensive imported water. Rebates for water efficient toilets, irrigation, and drought resistant landscaping. Education on saving water and money through conservation. Programs to rescue good food and distribute it to families in need. Help reusing building materials instead of throwing them away. Community composting programs to turn food scraps into garden soil. And of course, other ideas. What would help you save money on water and waste? Just going to zoom out so we can take a look at kind of high level where comments and where dots are being placed. For other ideas for making Bakersfield greener and more comfortable, I'm seeing community-driven gardens, classes, and green spaces to gather and learn and share, eat, and keep cool. And a strong preference for just generally more trees and parks along streets and around schools. In about a minute, I'll transition us to the final station. And of course, feel free to continue working along. I'm seeing including how to read your water bill. I think that's a good one. All right, well, people are wrapping that, or we're still working on it. I'm going to introduce the fourth and final station. And then once we get through this one, we'll wrap up with some next steps. So station 4, we're looking at workforce and economic development. So training for good paying careers, preparing residents for jobs that support families. So as Bakersfield grows and changes, residents need access to training for careers that pay well and have good futures, including jobs in construction, energy, and other growing fields. So what would help you most? Short-term training programs for solar installation, energy efficiency, and other job sectors. More access to college programs in engineering and green industries. paid apprenticeships and on-the-job training opportunities, expanded construction trade programs for electricians, plumbers, and other skilled trades, job retraining programs for workers wanting to change careers, financial aid to help residents afford training programs and certifications, more accessible English learning classes for students and workers, or other ideas. What training opportunities would help you or your family? Of course, if you have any questions about these or need examples, feel free to ask. And while people are thinking through that, I'm going to just introduce the last topic under the station. So finally, we have good jobs and strong local economy. So growing businesses and career opportunities right here in Bakersfield. So supporting local businesses and attracting new industries creates good paying jobs for Bakersfield residents while strengthening our local economy. So what would help you most? Incentives to bring new businesses and industries to Bakersfield. Support for business owners to expand and hire locally. Partnerships between the city and local businesses on community projects. Help for existing businesses to save money through efficient operations. And then support for renewable fuel production facilities, biofuels, hydrogen, or other ideas. What would help create more jobs in Bakersfield? Let's take a quick zoom out to look at a high level, and I'll zoom back in a second. Seeing workers' rights workshops as a recommendation for a training opportunity. And some concerns with hydrogen's water use. We'll give it a few more minutes before we wrap up here. We'll definitely make sure this mural board remains accessible. I think I am seeing activity slow down. Just going to do a quick pass through all of these, and Ascent or city staff, feel free to ask clarifying questions if needed. Got some pretty good feedback across all stations, so appreciate the input. Seeing a lot on transportation and clean fuels, a lot on resource management and conservation. All right, well, we'll keep this open. It's still accessible, and like I said, we'll make sure to share it after the workshop. We'll follow up with the slides as well, and I definitely encourage you to share this more broadly if you feel others have feedback on these topics as well. So I think I am going to transition us to next steps. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. You guys can all still navigate Mural and continue providing input if needed. But I am going to wrap us up so we can talk next steps and any final questions that you all might have. So let me just pull up screen. All right, next steps. So we do have, as Andrew mentioned, we have other avenues for engagement. One of them includes a survey. So on the project website, there is a survey that's available. So if people are interested in commenting on this activity, they might also be interested in taking the survey. So I encourage you and your network to explore that. We also have a digital engagement hub on the project website. And this is where the map activity that Andrew was talking about is located. And this is where, as was mentioned, you can get specific and tell us, specific locations that you'd like to see improvements or maybe opportunities that were discussed here. You can be even more specific on the map activity, which is located on the Digital Engagement Hub. If you have questions, you can email soar@bakersfieldcity.us. And then we have a QR code here, which will direct you to the project website. But of course, we will follow up with the presentation slides and additional links and information to ensure that you all stay engaged. So there is a listserv that you can sign up to continue to stay engaged. There will be more updates moving forward. So if you want to stay involved, I encourage you to sign up or just explore the project website in general. So I think with that, that is all we have. So yeah, we appreciate you all for joining us today, and all the feedback we received is helpful, and we hope to continue to stay engaged with you all. So thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you all.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Lewis and team.
Of course, thank you.